What is a dirty little secret about an industry that you have worked in, that people outside the industry really should know? In the publishing industry, best-selling books are created by networks of people, not by the quality of the book. A space on a bookshop table or in the shop's sales chart is paid for by the publisher. Very little success is based on the book itself, it's based on the right people buying into the idea of making it a success. Neglect and abuse in nursing homes is extremely common. Always place a hidden camera in your loved one's room. I work in the film industry. The public has only seen the smallest tip of the iceberg concerning the Me Too movement. What lies beneath that tip is truly shocking and would destroy careers and the industry as a whole if it was exposed. We bottle the same wine blends, under different brand names, all for cheap and premium wines. I used to work in the fashion industry. That scarf you have with the Made in Italy label? Made by very poor Chinese and other people in poor conditions, in Italy. I worked in the mortgage industry for quite a while, and there are reports that come out every month about which loan officers routinely charged higher interest rates to people of color and they were given slaps on the wrist. While licking an envelope won't kill ya, I would highly recommend using a wet paper towel. I've seen some nasty shit in those glue rollers. Sometimes negative press is released intentionally because the adage is somewhat true. Bad PR is good PR. Edit. A good book about this is Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. Rats, mice walk around in warehouses and people step on cans to get to other higher cans. Please do not drink straight from a can, or at the very least, clean it before you bring it to your mouth. They are disgusting. Paying cash for a car at a dealership does not get you a better deal. Dealers would rather sell the vehicle to someone who finances it so they can make more money off the back end. Extra bonus when you sell to someone with bad credit. Also, the bank gives a dealership a buy rate and the dealership makes money off of every point added to that rate. Skincare. All the products that you buy claiming wrinkle-free, exfoliating action, brightening is all a hoax. They rely on ingredients' properties to make these claims. E.g., a face cream with amla may claim to be rich in vitamin C, has anti-aging effects, makes hyperpigmentation lighter, etc., etc. But that's Alma. What about amla extract in the cream? Does it retain the goodness? No. Has the product been tested for efficacy? No. Most good stuff gets lost till it's packaged. Also, even if the clinical trials happen, they're rigged. There are an astonishing amount of idiots in positions of authority all over in healthcare. Influencers will say anything we pay them to say. They're wearing filters and butt pads and their Insta is a lie. They don't give a fuck. And neither does the ad industry. Don't trust influencers. Unfollow them. I only trust one or two, like Cassandra Bankson. There's small mom-pop oil companies everywhere. They use sketchy contractors, sketchy equipment, and their plan if they cause an environmental disaster is to declare the company bankrupt. They can't afford any cleanup. They don't have an environmental or compliance department. And they don't monitor for or report spills. The O&G companies you can name aren't half as scary as the ones you can't. Bathrooms. The markup for end user is extortionate. What will cost you about 10k would have cost me about 800 quid. Don't accept the first price in the showroom. Keep going at asking, negotiating. It will look like it's pissing the salesman off, but it's only pissing them off because they can't rip you off. That homemade soup from your fav casual fast family-friendly restaurant came out of a plastic bag or a can. That sausage gravy you think is so good. Big fat can. Those biscuits you love came from a box in the freezer. Almost nothing on the menu was scratch-made. It's just heated up before service. I am not talking fine dining here. And there is nothing wrong with all that. I just get annoyed when it's advertised as if they make it in-house. Source. I worked in the industry for over 30 years. A lot of those top 10 inches lists for any industry are paid for spots. Someone reaches out flattering you, then offers to sell a spot to you. I was a recruiter, and yes, it's 100% true companies low-ball you on salaries. Not even just for the big jobs either. The coffee maker in your room is the most likely thing to not be cleaned. The maintenance staff has access to every single room in a hotel. Use a special key to fully lock your door. In the beauty industry, L'Oreal and Lancôme eyeshadow are the exact same product, literally only difference is marketing. Corporate cannabis in MI. Everything has bugs and mold. New strains are board renamed old strains. They do not care about safely medicating people, they care about profit. Low-cost airlines. Don't ask for ice on one of those flights. The crew have most likely shoved their dirty hands in the ice several times a day. You don't want those germs in your drink. Also, asking for a tea or coffee doesn't look like a good idea. I have never seen the kettles being cleaned, and I don't even know if they do clean the water tanks in the plane. Always double-check your prescriptions before you take them. Every time. I worked in clinical governance for a large UK pharmacy company, and the number of errors on a day-to-day basis was terrifying. And that's only the ones we had reported. Seriously, check your meds, the strength, and the dose every time you get a new prescription. In non-profits, a lot of the money raised is to pay the overhead. I worked at an education non-profit, and at our gala we'd say things like, $100 pays for 50 notebooks, but when I'd ask the director for supplies he said there was no budget. We raised a lot of money every year, but the rent, salaries, health insurance, etc. was where the bulk of the money was going. Diamonds are a luxury item that basically lose all resale value once bought. The investment is in your choice of metal. The entire diamond industry is a hoax. Man-made diamonds are chemically identical to natural diamonds. They're also flawless, cheaper, and have significantly less environmental impact. Significantly less environmental impact. And human suffering. Multiple defense lawyers for corporations I litigate against have told me that they vote for progressives like Elizabeth Warren, so there are more regulations and then they get more business. If you're renting, try to move in January or February. The market rents are significantly lower during those months because demand is much lower, so you can lock in a rent amount at a lower rate. Avoid signing a rental agreement during the summer months when demand is at its highest. Source: I worked in apartment leasing for 10 years. HIPAA is all but bullshit. Your doctor's office will almost definitely send records to whatever fax number given to them without a second thought. Automotive. When financing, it's best if you go with your bank or a credit union. Dealers will run your credit through every single damn lender possible to find the best revenue for their pockets. A lot of the fees, in some states, you don't have to pay. For example, in MD, when you buy a vehicle in cash, you can opt out of paying for taxes, tags and title. Just the car's final price and the temp tag. When you go to our Department of Motor Vehicles, MVA, you'll pay what you didn't pay at the dealer. Why I say this, BC the taxes and the T&T fee are higher through a dealer. I worked in the accounting office reconciling the sales tax accounts and would notice a collection of maybe over $100 from what it should have been. Legally we're supposed to be returning the funds, but they'd play it off as a, if they don't ask, why should we? Most dealers use a system to process your tags and title on the spot. There is a surcharge for the use of each transaction processed, so they'll likely double up those fees. The other fees, check your state, local laws. In MD, there is a cap of how much they can charge, but IT is not legally required. It even says so on the deal sheet. If they willingly and immediately say yes, review the previous printout with the fee listed and the new one without the fee. They'll hide the fee somewhere else. Add-ons. Pay attention to the add-on options and accessories listed on the car's sticker or deal sheet. If a sticker on the car indicates the car has wheel locks, mats, etc., have the salesman, manager physically show you, acknowledge that they're on, in the car. The amount of people who leave without checking the car if it has floor mats or wheel locks is insane. Warranties. Please read over the entire contract of what is covered and what is not. When it starts and when it ends before you sign. A lot of people sign their life away and don't realize they paid for a warranty for maybe triple the price the dealer paid for, and it barely covers anything. Service, maintenance programs. Feel free to call the service center to ask for pricing on what the plan gives you and do the math. Often it's a great price and a great way to report your car's maintenance is done on time. Often, it's a complete ripoff. We always do not lose them, do not throw them away. If the dealer owes you something, they have to give it to you. Make a copy of your entire deal, contract, warranties, contracts, plan contracts, WIOs, etc. Redact, black out your personal info, DOB, address, SSN, and keep this copy in your car. A lot of dealer service department like to play dumb when it comes to warranties and plans. Service departments. You have a right to request an invoice of all your parts. A lot of dealerships will outsource non-OEM parts BC. It's cheaper for them but still charge you an OEM price. Some brand dealers aren't allowed to do this, but I've seen it done for used cars that are non-brand, for example, Toyota being sold at a BMW. I think this is all I can think of right now. OPLS, don't forget your license. Wigs for cancer patients costing thousands of dollars are just $100 to $300 wigs that went to a hairdresser. Unless they are made with European hair, they should not cost that much. Massage therapy. There are many reasons why we charge what we do. Full-time hours for massage therapists is max 20 to 25 hours per week because it is insanely hard on the body. 1 hour is equal to a full body workout of weightlifting cardio. I've gotten up to 30 hours a week at a franchise. Started losing feeling in my hands. Part of my feet had nearly unbearable pain in various parts of my body. There were times I'd get home from doing 10 one-hour massages in a day, couldn't sit down for a couple hours because I'd quickly pass out in my work clothes from being so drained. Most of us are paying for rent, marketing, supplies, continuing education, insurance, scheduling software, laundry services or extra utilities, so lots of overhead. We do work about 40 hours behind the scenes, yet are only getting paid for the time a client is on the table. We also pay 25 to 30% self-employed tax, our own medical, dental retirement if we can even afford those. Working as an employee, most are only paid on average $20 per session, equivalent to another's $10 per hour for a 40-hour workweek. Don't qualify for benefits, so yes, the tips make a huge difference. Employees also do not get paid if someone is not on the table. A sole proprietor or independent who charges about $75 per hour is actually only making the equivalent of someone else's $20 to $30 after all the overhead. That's if they have a full client base. Most MTs don't last longer than 5 YRS, so if you find one who's been at it 10 YRS plus, they're the real deal. Do deserve to charge a good chunk of change. Our education also requires WAAAAY more than just technique. We have to learn full anatomy, kinesiology, all the names, how the muscles move, connect, pathology, human illness, various diseases, precautions, physiology, how the body works on all levels, how to navigate all kinds of contraindications, the hormonal systems, ethics, business management, plus staying up to date on newer science. I've been an MT for 12 YRS now, spent a good $50K on my career education over the YRS out of my own pocket. Is it hard work? Yes. Do our hands hurt? Try the whole freaking body at times. Do we have to go to school for it? Always. We can't maintain a license without continued education every year or two. Do we get tired of the music? Sometimes yes, but we often end up blocking it out. Is deep tissue just really hard pressure meant to hurt? No. There's a feel-good sore when you find a spot, then there's the very real potential for injury. A good MT knows the difference. Should you ask for a happy ending? Absolutely not. That is insulting. Don't do it. Ever. Find another avenue to get off, but leave STF out of it. Do you really need to fill out the intake form? Absolutely. If we don't know about past injuries or medical issues, we could accidentally hurt you, so that information is 100% necessary for the safety of our clients. If you've had a past stroke, a heart attack, a car accident 2 YRS ago, we need to know. Luxury brand clothes are made by poor migrant workers, mostly old women, on sewing machines operated by hands. These workers are paid minimum wage for decades and have the most disgusting working conditions. This one place I went to, the front showroom was the most beautiful, luxurious place with a pretty white receptionist. But when I saw the production room, it was the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. It's looked like an attic which no one bothered to renovate, filled with sunken-faced Asian women, each in front of a machine making delicate stitches. 75% of university faculty in the U.S. are not tenured or tenure-track. Conditions vary by school, but often they have very little to no job security, and are grossly underpaid. The 25% that are tenured or tenure-track also probably don't make as much money as you think they do. But at least they have job security. Starbucks intentionally overcooks their beans to make them bitter so people will add flavored syrup. The syrup costs them a couple pennies per drink, so it's a huge cash grab for them. Hospitals aren't as clean as people think. Do people think hospitals are clean? I always thought they were sterile in terms of vibes, not germs. The people operating rides at amusement parks can only emergency stop the ride. They can't actually do anything but start, stop, and stop in an emergency, not at a drop. All your personal information has already been compromised. The only mystery is when it will be used. University professor. If you want to ensure that a school you are transferring to accepts your transfer credits, keep every syllabus from all your classes at the first school you attend. They can't reject a class for not being equivalent if you prove that it is. Your child's daycare provider knows that your kid is sick and that you loaded them up with Tylenol before morning drop-off. All of the workers talk about you and you are known as that parent for putting everyone else's health in jeopardy. How unsanitary most restaurant kitchens are. Tattooing is low-key easy as fuck. Many tattooists get by being well below average artists tbh. There are of course many talented creators who do their own pieces from the ground up and are excellent designers with creative vision. There are also hundreds of thousands of artists who would be failing entry-level illustration classes and simply Google image search, print stencil, trace, and still charge $100 an hour or more. The industry fosters an aura of mystery and exclusivity to keep those prices where they are. Tattooing in the modern method can be quite easy and foolproof. Absolutely anyone can learn to do it. Probably not a secret, but in advertising we are basically manipulating people into buying things they don't need, by finding insights into who we can convert into a new customer based on the problems they have. Some diversity choices for casting are check the boxes as well. That paper towels and toilet paper are stored in nasty warehouses that rats piss all over the cases. It seeps into the cases. By the time they get to the bathroom it's dried but it's still there. Just a thought while everyone worries about picking up germs on the toilet seat. Damaged clothes are cut up and thrown away at retailers monthly. That damaged, $500 down coat with a missing button is cut up in the LP office and tossed in a dumpster. The $1,000 sequin gown that was tried on one too many times and has deodorant stains is cut up and tossed. Dresses with missing slips, necklaces no one wants to untangle, all in the trash. I did some work at a blender company in Florida for a while. The job was calibration on pneumatic transmitters on an assembly line. In a giant stainless 10-liter tank, shampoo. The bottles that went through to be filled by that one tank. Just the 4 hours I was there. Publix, Kroger, CVS, Garnier Fructis, Paul Mitchell, Walgreens, Great Value, Members Mark, etc., etc. Safety is the number one priority until it isn't. If the veil of safety falls, the whole industry comes down with it. If the contractor isn't making production, safety supervision turns a blind eye. If a hotel says we deep clean and shampoo every pet room after every stay, they be lying. Academia. Professors raise their student assistants to become the next professor or head of department. You gotta start early, because it's technically nepotism. We call our supervisors professors' mom and dad. No joke. Alumni have the best chances. This does not align with my experience in academia. If I called my professor mom or dad, it heard someone else do it, I would be on the floor dying of laughter. I don't know anyone who started at the school where they got their degrees. As this may be private primary school. I'm coming from a college graduate school perspective. I don't think people realize all of the services that are available to the excessively rich. There are people out there doing very interesting and unusual jobs for these people for boatloads of cash. You can take something tame like matchmaking and put a very unique spin on it, and it exists. I'm an exotic dancer. Strippers will be ripping ass on stage. Especially when they pull their ass cheeks apart, it's a good trick. That boomin' music helps cover the sound too. Don't use the airplane lavatory without shoes on. IT department people, especially tech support, most probably hates you and make fun of you with their colleagues because a kid have more common sense than you, but you think you're the smartest and important person in the company. Hello sales. Pet services. Worked at a luxury pet boarding facility and the dogs had a large indoor cement play area. Night staff was a single staff cleaning position. The dogs were kennelled from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. without stretching or bathroom breaks that entire time, as it's unsafe for the single staff to work with the dogs alone. Cages get stacked, and if one dog pukes or pees, it can drop onto the dog kennelled under it. Also, the dogs howl, bark and cry all night, so none of them are getting sleep and they're extremely stressed. Do not use boarding facilities. Staff are untrained and largely teenagers or young adults. Dogs don't get attention, they miss meds, they're constantly stressed. If you are, and you're not paying for the most expensive package, ask the staff to show you where your dog will be. They won't, because it's probably atrocious. We had kennels stacked on kennels in a cold cement loading bay for the basic boarding package. Also, the place I worked kept all the tips. People would sometimes tip up to $200 for their dog's stay, and the company kept it all. They supplied coffee and pop to the staff off the tips and kept the rest. In finance, the reason you get cash back rewards on credit cards is because the more you use that bank's card, the more money that bank makes, because every time you swipe, the merchant pays the bank a small fee to run the card.